good. Good.
Hi, everybody. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. Can everybody hear us okay? Thumbs up. All right. Well, my name is Katie Kessler. This here is Jordan Kessler, and we will be teaching Ignite today. So,
We're married, by the way.
yes, we're not
brother and sister.
we're not siblings. We are married, and then we are part of the Carol Kessler team. So, we'll share a little bit about us first before we get started. But I have been in real estate for 8 years, and then Jordan has been in real estate 4 years now, just about. So. And then as far as our team, it's also my parents, Jim and Kathy Carroll, and then also we have TJ Carvalho. He's a licensed appraiser as well. He's on our team. So if you ever need anything, we're just down the hall, but we'd be happy to help.
Yep.
But yeah, today we'll be teaching the Ignite. It's on delivering your value proposition. And so before we start, does anybody have any questions from any of the past Ignite series or anything that we can answer before we get started? And then you're welcome to always use the chat as well. Sorry, I apologize. This isn't my computer, so I will do my best to stay on top of it if something comes through with chat.
So we have Sharon.
Yeah, we got a good turnout here.
Lisa, Salvador, anybody else?
We've got on the next one, Devontae. Yeah.
And then I don't think I've met you before.
Maria.
Maria, nice to meet you, Maria.
as well. Alexia.
Alexia, nice to meet you.
I'm Linda.
What is it?
Linda?
I know we've met. Linda.
Yes.
We met at the team rally a few weeks ago.
Probably.
And we know Stephanie.
Yeah.
Good. Well, welcome. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
I hope we can share some good stuff with you. I like teaching this. I'm glad. I don't think we've taught this one before.
We
but I'm
haven't.
glad we did because it falls in perfect timing because I got my license like a week ago, 4 years ago. I just had my 4-year anniversary, and the delivering a value proposition really speaks to why are you in real estate? Why did you get into real estate? Because that's what you're delivering. What's your purpose? And for me to get into real estate, it was because I felt like I had a lot of value. And working in the industry I was in, it was kind of useless. So I think it's going to be a great little class to teach, and that's something that we really rely on is the experience that we create and how we create referral business out of delivering your value.
Yeah. What was your previous experience, or I guess your previous career? Why you could deliver value?
I was in commercial construction, and I did some stuff in operations and car dealerships, where I did that for a few years, and then I went and did commercial construction and helped build do a big project in downtown Denver, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed construction. It's just not something where you get to help people on a daily basis. It's more butting heads and everybody trying to get a job done, but not working together. Whereas real estate, for the most part, you don't butt heads with anybody. Usually it's pretty smooth, but you're able to actually help people. You're able to provide value. You're able to help people out, and it's gratifying. You can do a good job for people. There's things that we can kind of talk about how we provide value to our clients that make them want to come back and have a good experience. Whereas my previous job was just pretty thankless, pretty not a great experience. It was toxic. In real estate, you're going to run into some toxic deals, but for the most part, you get to work with a lot of great people.
The good days will always outweigh the bad, so remember that.
That's right.
And then as far as prior to when I got into real estate, I have my teaching degree. And so as far as I started out with student teaching, then I worked as a special ed parent for a couple years, not loving it. And then that's when I always had interest in real estate, decided to make that change there. I also worked in the restaurant industry for too long, a really long time. And so one thing I was just telling the ladies here is no matter what you've done before real estate, there's going to be skill sets that can be applied to real estate. So
yep.
as far as, that's how we actually kind of came up with our slogan is we do more homework. I'm third generation. My grandma, my dad, and I were all teachers and all also in real estate. So that's how we came up with our, we do more homework. So yeah, just a fun little thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so, oops, go this way.
Say back there.
Back.
Use the arrows, yeah.
There we go. So what successful agents do every day? They're growing a business and they're also running a business. And if it, for some reason it looks off from what your guys' packet looks like, just let us know. But yes, that's what, as far as what agents are doing, successful agents are doing every day. As far as growing your business, you have to lead generate for buyers and sellers. And so that's a whole nother topic, but when you first get into real estate, you want everybody to know that you're in real estate. So you would be surprised where you could find business from. We found it from sitting at the airport to, I was just actually out door knocking. So there's different avenues you can go for lead generating there.
Yeah, and be creative with your lead generation. Make it fun for you. Like for me, my lead generation is not showing up at the office at a certain time and making a certain amount of phone calls every day. That's not what our lead generation looks like. Our lead generation, like Katie said, is having conversations with people and having valuable conversations with people and using social media, and when you're out in public, having those conversations with people. So make it, and for some people, like Matt Harper, he has a system for his lead generation that looks completely different from ours. Figure out what works for you, because if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to do it.
And like you said, make it fun, because exactly, if it's like exactly what you said, if you don't enjoy it, you'll start out doing it and then you'll put it on the back burner. So you have to find what works. There's so many different avenues for lead generation. There's certain things that I know is not my strength, and so I just don't focus on that. So I find what's most effective.
Can you give examples of what fun lead generation activities you have?
I love door knocking. For me, I like face-to-face interaction. So that's something I actually really enjoy. And then I try to usually if you have a listing or like an open house coming up, that way it's not in such a salesy way. For instance, I'll just say, I want to invite you to our open house. We want to give the neighbors first chance to pick your neighbors. So if you know anyone who wants to live in the area, and then just as far as you begin those conversations. One of the conversations I had was with another agent. I told her our office is now in Old Town. She's like, oh, I'll have to come check it out. And so you just never know as far as just the relationships you'll build with people.
Yeah.
Katie, do you mind sharing something that you feel like you're not good at, so you don't do it?
Cold calling for sell by owners and expireds. And there's some agents who do a phenomenal job at it. That's their bread and butter, and they have the scripts down and they do awesome. So don't be discouraged by that. For me, it's just not a warm lead. And so, and you never know.
Some people have the ability to call and, Stephanie has no anticipation of picking up the phone and having a conversation. And some people have the ability to work that conversation, and holy cow, they're on YouTube, you can watch them. That's just not us. That's not what we do.
We'll write handwritten letters too for sell by owners or expireds, but for me to get on the phone, I feel like I'm not genuine. I don't know. It's hard for me.
Yesterday at the other night, I was like, I don't feel genuine saying this out loud, but yeah.
Well, like what I'll do, I'll cheat and I'll pay attention to social media, and I'll pay attention to anniversaries when people are kids and birthdays. Use those, and then use that as an excuse to call.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden you have a reason to call.
Everybody puts, everything's on Facebook. So like Jordan said, when people's birthdays are, like, oh, they just got engaged. And if you want to then take it a step further, like if we always reach out to them, that's a good opportunity to reach out. But then if you want to take it a step further, you can always send them a card with a little handwritten note, like, just saw you got married, congrats. Or because you never know, they maybe have married someone, they maybe even sell a place or one of them. So
you can get creative with it. There's a lot of ways to lead generate, but like Katie said, don't be a secret agent. You'll hear that quite a bit. Let people know you're in real estate.
Yeah.
You don't have to, shove it down their throat. Usually they'll lead the conversation into what real estate looks like.
And this is something we're going to be talking today, as far as, what value do you provide. So there's been times with Facebook, people will reach out just to ask a real estate question. They have no interest as far as moving, but then we just start those conversations, and then you just want to be that agent of choice. So if you are providing value even through social media, then that counts. Then you start building those relationships.
quick question about social media, if anybody's done this. One frustration I have with Facebook right now is I have my business page I set up and I have my personal page. And all of you guys are on my personal page. If I put out a call and said, hey, would you guys like my business page? Would you guys do that? Because I find myself having to copy and paste my business posts to my personal page. It won't let me just share them. And I feel like I just want more people being driven directly
Right.
to business.
See, and I would get your database to do that, but
Okay.
like, I won't personally, and I'll tell you why, and Charles will tell you the
Yeah.
same thing,
Yeah.
because then my friends will start seeing your stuff.
Oh, see, and
I
that's
don't
why
need
I
my
asked,
friends
because
to
I
see
wouldn't have
your
thought
stuff.
about that.
Right.
All right, I mean, that's been my only frustration is, and maybe I'll just like not post to the business page anymore. Maybe I'll just post.
You can, I mean, gosh, I'll be honest, Katie and I, we're terrible with our
I
business
do.
page.
I don't even know,
Everything
I
we do-
have one as well, I literally never use it, I'm like, why do I even have that?
I had originally thought,
Really
no, I'm
gotta
only
work,
gonna, I'm not
'cause
gonna
the
accept people on
functions are different
personal.
than your
Yeah,
personal.
Yeah, I just,
yeah,
people have liked it, all my friends have literally liked it, and I still almost
Yeah.
daily, I'm like, oh, somebody else
I
liked it, I'm like,
just
oh, I don't even
do,
do
I
anything
do
on
market
it.
updates every once in a while, and I do like funny world holidays or national holidays.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, because I hadn't thought about that, but that's true,
Yeah,
and
so-
I don't want to be, I just wanna figure out a way to get the information across. So I'll just keep either posting directly to personal or cutting and pasting.
And that's something we teach another class on is Facebook and social media. Facebook's our, I'd say our largest network as
Our
far
bread
as,
and butter.
yeah, where
Yeah.
we get business from. There's so many avenues with social media.
That's our
Um,
demographic though, because
it is.
Facebook came out like we were
Mhm.
like first into
Yeah.
Facebook, our
Yeah.
age group was.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So all of our friends, they're all there. So that's a big avenue. So yeah, I'm not sure when we're teaching that class next.
Yeah, we'll have to look up, but as far as we can give some tips as far as, because I would say we don't do a ton with our business page. We still have one, we'll post once in a while, but then our personal page is where we get the most business
I
from.
see, and I see a lot of y'all's posts when you have a new listing or something sold.
We try to mix it up in that way we're not throwing real estate in their face, but try to, like, for instance, I took a picture and me door knocking, that way they know I'm out and they see a just listed postcard, but it's not just listed. They know
Yeah.
we're doing the activities
Well, you
real
put a
estate
lot of
related.
cute kid pictures there too.
Hey,
I'll give you credit.
there's-
Kids and pets,
There's a-
use them
there's
to your
a-
advantage.
Good balance.
What if you don't have either of those?
That's okay.
That's all right.
Go
People
to the
just-
dog park, just.
All people want to know is that you're human too, and now
It
we'll
is.
talk about that in the value proposition.
Okay.
They want to know you're human. They want to know you're drinking wine at night too.
Yeah.
That's the person I want to work with,
How'd
not
you
the
know
robot.
that?
Um,
Good point.
So yeah, definitely keep an eye out for that one, because we enjoy teaching that, because we're pretty, I would say we're pretty, what's the word I'm looking for? There's kind of a science that goes into our personal.
Strategic.
Strategic, I was,
There you go.
Mustachioed.
I still can't think of the word. We know we could do better with our, business page, we just,
But how? That's the question.
no, we know how to do it, it's just,
Okay, I would like
it's
to
just
hear
finding the.
We don't do it.
It's finding
Yeah.
the time to do it.
Yeah.
We're in the process of bringing an admin on, so
Oakley dokley.
that'll probably increase.
Yeah, that will.
But yeah, keep an eye out for that. If you ever have questions about social media and how we use it, we can definitely answer
Yeah,
that.
that would be great.
I would say, grow your business, preview real estate, that is huge up here.
Yeah, that's
Go
number 4
look at
there.
homes.
So yeah, as I say, get to know the market, get to see what homes are listed for, what they're selling for, get to know different areas. And that way, as far as you'll be a good resource, so when you are showing in a particular area, you know about the other homes that are for sale. Before you go show a home too, always see what's under contract, because if they see a sign out there and they'll say, what's that one listed for? Is that one still available? Then that way at least know your area before you show too.
Yep.
Which, like, as far as previewing, we used to do a preview caravan. I'll have to see if Margaret and Stacy have anything lined up, but what we would do as far as, certain days of the week, go preview homes for a couple hours, go together, and then we
Mel
can
was doing
point
that,
out.
but Mel just moved on,
Yeah,
so.
so that would be
hopefully they'll
something
listen to
that maybe to buddy up and preview homes together.
Yeah.
Definitely do that, and that will help you with your CMAs tremendously.
Yes.
Just having the knowledge in the back of your head.
Yeah.
And then also having conversations, especially right now, when people say, well, I'm only approved for this, and that's not gonna get me anything. And you can say, well, actually, like, if you looked at this part of town, And you can also have those conversations with people that are looking to move here and what does X amount get me here and X amount get me there? You can have that, you can answer that pretty easily for them.
And then for 2 and 3, as far as make seller and buyer presentations, that's one thing too, practice them too. You have your presentation, practice it, so that way you have the confidence. That's just the main thing too, as far as having the confidence when you go on those appointments.
Yep.
People don't have to know if you're new in real estate. As far as running your business, this is market seller listings. And then that's something, or market seller listings, there's so many different ways you can market listings. So I would say is one thing is whatever you promise your sellers, make sure you say what you do what you say. There we go. Says as far as show buyers houses, negotiate contracts. And you guys are great being in the coaching program, in good hands, I should say. As far as Margaret, she really knows the skills as far as best negotiating tactics, so she can really help you with that.
Yep.
Transaction management to closing, vendor management. So as far as staying in touch, staying in touch with the lender throughout the process is huge. But then lining up inspection and anything that you may want to be an asset to your clients. As far as they know, sometimes they think like, oh, you show us the house and then what are you doing? You show your value through that. Say for instance, they want to maybe replace carpet later on. Line up a carpet person so they can get an estimate. Be that source for that resource as far as have a good set of contractors in your back pocket too. Set goals is huge. Goal setting, we're huge. I know you guys just did that one, the goal setting, but Jordan and I and our team, we're big on setting goals. So at the end of every year and throughout the year, we're reviewing where are we at with our goals. And you have to have, as far as I love vision, you don't have to have this, but you have to have your big why to fuel those goals too. So I'm huge on vision boards. I think they're just fun to make. Maybe that's why I like them so much, but also it's a good reminder as far as, that way if you're visualizing your goals every day, you're more likely to succeed at them.
Yes.
Compliance and risk management. You guys are part of a great office, which good thing we have Bob. We call Bob once in a while.
Try to stay out of trouble.
Yeah. And then as far as attend training and get coaching and manage money. So you really have to run a business too. You would be surprised, some of these huge teams, they put so much money into their business. Just because they're a big team doesn't mean they're always netting the most either. So just you have to remember that. Don't get discouraged by you see these big teams and they're doing a ton of business. They may not be netting as much as you think.
They're paying for it.
They are.
They're paying to bring that business in. So you can get business 2 ways, which I'm sure Charles has taught you or talked to you about. You can get it by paying for it through some sort of lead service or through Zillow, or you can build it organically. And that's how we've chosen to build our business. And that's something we can talk about here and how we've been able to do that organically to, great, you had 10 closings that month, but how much did you pay for those 10 closings
Yeah.
each month, right?
That's where you have to really deliver your value. I'd say 98% of our business is just repeat and referral business. If you do a good job and stay in touch with people, they'll remember that and then they'll refer their friends and family.
Yep.
You also have to stay in touch with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be.
Yep. So when that, you talk about the lead generate on one, that's not always cold calling. Lead generating is also calling your database of people you know and your past clients you worked with. Okay? Don't just assume they're going to come back. Because as you all know, as new agents, there's new agents always getting into the business. Somebody's brother, somebody's cousin, somebody's sister.
Yeah.
Make sure you're staying in contact with your clients.
Yes. And there is 3 aspects of service. And so that's what we're kind of going to, or as far as, let's not go to service yet. First, we're going to actually define our value is the first one. But then we'll go into as far as the 3 aspects of service, know and state your value, deliver value. And then this is kind of our timeline for today. We'll recap it with the ahas and then how to just build those daily success habits. Because if you're not enjoying it, then you're going to lose sight.
That's right.
So, all right, our first one here is your value. just kind of looking at your guys' packet as far as you have the, okay, so. Yes, this one here, it's, as what we're going to do for your value is we want to describe, we're gonna craft a simple and precise description of the benefits for the client. And then the next part is, how are you clearly going to convey that, to your client? That's one thing too, is a lot of times we hear, well, I'm trustworthy. Well, what skills do you have as far as being able to, show that you're trustworthy? What are you actually going to be doing for the client to earn their business? And then as far as, make your value proposition a covenant between you and the client. So you have to, you don't want to overpromise and underdeliver.
You can overpromise, but you have to overdeliver as well. The old adage is, underpromise, overdeliver. But sometimes underpromising won't get you business, right?
Yeah.
Because if you seem timid, if they don't seem like they can trust you, and you don't come off as being able to get the job done, they may go talk to somebody else. So don't be afraid to overpromise, but be willing to overdeliver on that. It's kind of a fine line you have to walk there. You pull up there.
That was prospecting.
Yeah. So here. So this is their guy right here. Yes. I already looked at it. That's theirs.
I think this is, okay. I thought we were doing value proposition. That's our next class we're teaching.
Which one did you open up?
We're doing this one.
Well, there's three of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which one?
This is third.
Oh, maybe I just, there it is. Just kidding.
So it's facilitators.
I mean, you go
Those
back
are
to
on page
these now.
three.
All right, I will give
Oh,
each of
okay.
you guys my adjective
Oh, yeah.
if you give me one.
Oh, there it is.
Number two.
Okay.
How do
Oh.
people personally describe you?
Wait,
Oh,
just
I'm
go to
doing
the
this.
back.
Oh, we're going to the back?
Three aspects of
So-
service? Or-
So we're gonna reflect on value, is that right?
Is that
what you guys
where-
got?
Then page 4.
Page
Yes.
4, which I was just looking, it looks like as far as
Yeah, right.
the
there's
three
another-
aspects of
You see that
service.
one.
Okay.
And we
Yeah.
will go into the three aspects of service next.
Okay.
It's going to be purpose, value proposition, and fiduciary. And then we can kind of jump back to that one. But
Okay.
as far as the next one is reflecting your value, what words would you use to describe yourself? We'll spend maybe about 5 minutes on this one here.
Yeah.
I was looking at the,
I love that.
You asked for one, right?
You take fun loving.
Like you owe me one.
I was excited to teach this when I was going through it, and it was a good
Mhm.
refresher for us to go back to.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny? It's
Our
just
values.
basics, yeah.
You guys are welcome to go to the next ones. As far as the second one, how would people, personally describe you? The third one, what skills do you have that make you great at real estate? And what experiences do you have that make you great at real estate? Think back to your previous jobs too, because you'd be surprised how a lot can correlate with each other.
Can putting up with bullshit be one of my skills?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's definitely needed.
That's like.
Problem solving, yeah,
Yeah, okay, oh, I'm gonna say,
problem solving,
that's so much nicer than bullshit.
yeah. Time management, managing people,
Mhm.
works well with others.
Putting up with nonsense and then putting out that fire, absolutely,
Be a problem preventer,
correct.
yeah, so rather than a problem
Being
solver.
proactive will take you
Mm.
very far in real estate.
Mm.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
For the ladies on here, we had our leadership group, so we do it once a month.
We had a players, Jordan.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't invited to leadership.
Girls like nice things.
That peach cobbler was delicious. I did take it home, so.
It was so good. I took one there was, Heidi told me, just take one more. I was like, well, I'll take one, and I guess I shared my boyfriend. Okay, both of them. So bad, yeah. It was so easy. Homemade these. I was like,
They were pretty
so
too. They were
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was good. I may have had a bottle of red wine. But
We had your own leadership group.
I had-
Yeah.
I was watching Mr. Peabody. Red wine.
Oh,
He knows all those people.
How old's Leo now?
It's gonna be 4 in August.
It's forward in a couple weeks.
Does he know it?
No, he's so pretty awesome at this
Yeah.
age. Yeah. He's pretty awesome. Right
He's a
now.
good
He's at a really good stage.
Yeah, it's fun.
I was dying at the PJ and onesie picture you put up of your little girl. Like, I love that stage when they're past toddling, but still have bedhead all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep, because they won't have enough hair to really do anything with. So
Right.
I'm just gonna let it stay.
Yeah. Or static electricity exists.
Yep.
so.
All right, let's do about 1 more minute.
Yeah.
How about if you want to wrap up? Oh, let's see, maybe even that. I guess I missed number 5 here. Consider the 3 aspects of service, which we'll get back to that one because
Yeah.
it is the next slide.
Yep.
So I won't worry so much about 5.
Yeah. Andrew Regis property line right now.
We close on Monday at 2.
Yeah. Good. Good.
Right.
Yeah, exciting.
Good for you.
And I think we're like this close to finally getting Ainsley's sister and her husband contract, the 5th one. So hopefully we'll get that today.
It's a tough market. Don't get discouraged.
Well, and they finally said, we're not gonna look at any more properties that are moved to the market. We'll look at properties that don't in the last few days.
Yeah.
So that kind of opens it up to more
It does,
discussion.
that's smart.
Yeah.
It's interesting. We had a listing. It made it through the weekend, and on Monday, Tuesday, I had people calling. They said the same thing. We don't want to
Yeah.
look at homes that are new to market. But then seems like some people were calling Monday, Tuesday, and then we ended up with 3 offers by Thursday.
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah,
It was
this was
crazy.
your split level with the half and
Mhm.
half house, yeah.
yeah.
That backyard was amazing on that house.
Wow.
Yeah.
Kind of just tough to work on.
Yeah, and I mean, we thought, God, if we had an extra $200,000, yeah, you could push out the kitchen, you get a good master on the bottom, like that, take up a little bit of that backyard space, it still would be huge.
See, that's not a
You
neighborhood, you put
just-
$200,000 in.
Oh, and that's just.
Because you don't recoup that.
You know what's frustrating me is, I mean, there's still houses on the market that are getting immediate lots of offers, and they're always gray and white. They have that certain, they've replaced the railings with the metal or the wire. And
Mhm.
I'm just like, that doesn't make it worth $50,000 more. It's
I
just
know.
a railing.
Yeah.
So I'm getting a little cranky about that. That's okay.
That's all right.
That's
Well,
one thing to
those
learn,
things-
there's neighborhoods in Denver that's worth putting $200,000 in, that's not,
Mm-mm.
because you don't get that back.
Yeah.
You put $200,000 in a home in Denver West, you get that back.
But this is what I've also been telling them is there's these intangibles, like you guys could buy the house and have it rehabbed on the inside, you could make it gray and white, but you can't make the yard bigger.
Yep.
Right.
Can't
And
change
you
location.
can't
Remember
change
that.
Location,
You
so,
can change floor plan to an
Yeah.
extent,
yeah.
but then it's expensive.
Mhm.
Unless you're doing the work yourself, contractors
Yeah.
are very expensive right
Yeah.
now in Denver.
All right. And so next part here, is everybody good to move on? Thumbs up, everybody.
Got some good
Doing
answers
well?
down?
All right. So the next one here is going to be the 3 aspects of service. Going down further.
page 3 for us.
Is it?
Yeah.
I say, sorry, we don't have page numbers for,
Yeah, that's right, there's 3 aspects of service, basically for them. So the first one, what is it? The first one's purpose.
as a purpose. So this comes back to, why did you get into real estate? What is your big why? You know, you have to have a purpose as far as to do what you, the reason why you're doing it. You know, as far a lot of times there's also classes you can take on finding your big why. What truly fuels you to be in this industry?
Yep.
What makes you want to be in real estate? I would be happy to share mine. So before Jordan had even gotten into real estate, my dad had been in real estate for over 20 years. And my big why was growing up in a real estate family, seeing the business that he built and how hard he worked. I wanted to carry that on and carry on his name. That was a big thing for me, as far as, you know, he took so much time to build the business that he did that I didn't want to just let it go. So that was my big why that really fueled it when I got into real estate, was to continue the level of service that he did and then even try to do it better. And then that's when, you know, and then Jordan came into my life and we got married, we have kids, and now my why has changed. It still comes down to the core of family, to continue on with my dad, but at the same time too is just, you know, with our family is being able to provide for them and be able to do fun things with them and create that business that where we have that flexibility with our family. So I know it comes back down to family, and it's the family that I've built with Jordan and our kids now.
And like Katie said, your why should change over time. Your why should change from when you got into real estate. My big why for getting into real estate was because I wanted to help people. I wanted to work with people. I enjoy working with people. And unfortunately, the industries I were in, like I mentioned, they were kind of toxic to the point where people didn't really want to work with each other, but they all wanted the same things. So I wanted my why was I wanted a better quality of life. I wanted to come home and look in the mirror and feel like I did something worthwhile for the day. And then we got married and we had kids, and that completely changed my why. Now my why is, like Katie said, our family. And it's also, you know, to be honest with you, I wanted to be able to create our own schedule. I wanted the freedom. I say that now and I end up working more than we ever did in our previous jobs.
I would say
You're
it's
a good boss though.
But
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
what we
you know?
put into is what we'll get out of it too.
Yeah.
We don't have a boss above us, so if we don't go to work for a week, it's going to affect us. So
Yeah.
Yes, we end up working Friday, Saturday, Sunday sometimes until midnight. But Tuesday, Wednesday rolls around, we're able to take some time for ourselves, and we don't have to answer anything.
Yeah.
That was a big why for me too,
Mhm.
was being able to make our own schedule.
we just went on a vacation. We left Sunday and then came back on Thursday, and that way we're here for the weekend to be able to work our busiest time.
So really find your why. I think there's a lot of YouTube videos on how to find your why. I struggled to find a why there for a while.
Jordan made a good point too. And then like, if you have your why and you're passionate about what you're doing, then it's just so much better when you are helping people and, you know, building those relationships. That I would say is a whole nother part of our why too, is just being there for people to help them with the biggest asset.
So you start with your why, your purpose, and then you go to 2, have and communicate a clear sense of how you deliver on that purpose. And don't be afraid to communicate your why to your clients when you're on a listening appointment. Tell people why you do what you do. They want to know that. They want to know what motivates you. Because like Ron Benson will tell you, they can smell it on your breath if you're only in it for the money, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So if you can communicate what your passion is, what your why is, your value proposition, you're going to have much more chances of success, as opposed to walking in there without having, you know, and clearly communicating what your motivation is to do a good job for somebody is, right?
Make sure you know what it is. That's one thing too. If you want to record yourself saying your why, or just practice it too. And then that way, you know, it's scripted and you know what you're saying and it doesn't come scrambled out. Or another thing that our why is even changing more is we've now built a business where we can help others besides real estate. So that's one thing that we're passionate about, is we're in the process of starting our own charity. So, you know, we've built a business now where we can give back and help others in different ways there.
Yeah.
So.
And then it goes into, did you have
Oh,
something to say?
no, keep going, please.
I was gonna say, it rolls right into 3. You have to exhibit a continual drive to put your client's needs above all else. And I would say that is it's invaluable. That's what's gonna set you aside from somebody else. Are you gonna be the one to go above and beyond for your clients? Because that's what brings that repeat referral business is, I'm trying to think off the top of my head some of the things we've done.
If you have your client's best interest in need, they'll know that. What little things are you doing to set yourself above other agents? As far as there's been times we've helped people move. They really needed help moving and we had free time and we said, how about we come by and we can help you move if you're in a bind? They'll remember that.
Yeah.
Certain things like that, like Jordan had a client who their refrigerator was on back order and they weren't going to have a refrigerator for the food. They had a kid and everything. We had an extra refrigerator in our garage. You'll find out you'll get extra refrigerators being in this business. People that want to leave them behind.
That's 2 examples right there. We had an extra refrigerator because we had a client that didn't want it.
And it was one of those old time fashioned ones. So I loved it. And she goes, I don't want this. And we're like, we'll take it off your hands. That's a great beer fridge.
Yeah.
So, and it was adorable. So, but I would say that was one we took it off her hands, wouldn't fit with the fridge. Well, now we have an extra fridge in our garage and they needed one. So Jordan drove it down to Highlands Ranch and let them use a refrigerator until they were able to get theirs.
Yeah.
So it's those little things that they'll remember.
Little things like
Yeah.
that.
It's just, if there's somebody who needs help with something, just try to be there for them.
Right. Because, when you get business in this industry, it's know, like, and trust. You have to know them. They have to like you and they have to trust you above all else. And when you're willing to go do those things, they see that, they feel that, they can pick up on that when you're meeting with them, as opposed to, somebody that's just going to maybe to make money. Maybe their intentions aren't in the right place. So you really have to, like Debbie always says and KW always says, you really have to come from a place of contribution.
And that's the thing too, as far as knowing their best interests. So that's something that we deliver from the minute we sit down with them at our consultations is, we're going to be honest with you. If it's a house we don't think you should buy, then we're not going to try to sell it to you. We want to point out things that you're aware of and they appreciate that. Because you can't just say I'm a trustworthy person, but, show them how you're going to do that. As far as, if it's a bad location, we hope you're calling us 5 to 10 years down the road. And if we're in a different market, it could be tough selling it.
Right.
So, they appreciate that honesty, especially when you're out showing and say, I know you have another kid on the way. This floor plan only has 2 bedrooms up. I just want to make sure you're aware of that. Look for those things. So then that way another kiddo comes along and they're calling you, say, this house was terrible. We can't even make it work. So
Yeah,
those
exactly.
little things.
Yeah.
I think one thing that's most important with the value proposition is how do you turn your value and make it about their needs? So a lot of times you'll hear agents, we've been in the business for 38 years and they're just talking about themselves the most. That's where you have to turn it around to them. So we've been in the business for 15 years. So we have the experience where we have the experience as far as what to look out for and how do you turn it around and deliver value to them? So then that way they go into it thinking it's going to be about you, and then it turns around to be about them. I would say that's the biggest thing that I have learned. I would say recently over about a year ago, we had a buyer consultation and they said, we really liked you and we felt like you talked more about you and not how you can help us. And that was a good eye opener for us. And so we were thinking they wanted to hear as far as, what we had behind in our back belt, but it was more about we didn't make it about their needs.
Right. So, I think that's a great point to bring up because, a lot during Ignite, people say, well, I don't think Katie brought what we bring to a listing appointment or a buyer consultation. Because we do have a track record and we can lean on that, but
It's in their office.
that was a huge
This is
point.
something I was gonna say, yeah,
You don't need that.
yeah.
You don't need that.
Don't forget that all of us have KW
Mhm.
training, experience, mentorship behind us at this point.
Always use the office. And so say, we are one of the largest real estate companies. So it's a huge benefit to you because we are networking with other agents constantly and they'll turn it around. Take something that you can use from Keller Williams or just even our office here in Arvada, turn it around and how is it of value to the clients?
Yep.
how did, these sentences don't make any sense to me. Could you help? Cause like you just did that last one.
These.
Oh, okay, so, right, but so we're just supposed to copy
Yeah.
that?
Plug it in, I
Up
think there's
there.
somewhere.
Oh, I
Yeah.
thought this was supposed to be like our purpose,
Mhm.
okay.
So I think
Right.
the first one is know
I
the
thought you
underlying
said
purpose of the real estate profession.
Okay.
Which
Thank
that's like
you.
your big why.
Have them communicate a clear sense of how you deliver on that purpose. So again, you can talk about, how to build that trust with people, like Katie brought it up, when we meet with our buyers, we tell them, we say, hey, we're gonna be available to you any time of day to show you whatever you would like to see, however, we're gonna be honest with you, like Katie said, and that's something we actually say, is we want you to call us in 5 or 10 years when you're ready to sell, and we want you to make money. You're not gonna make as much money on something with a bad floor plan, or something that backs up to
That location.
Highway 36. We're not gonna let you buy something unless you truly, truly want to, but we want you to call us in 6 or 7 years, make enough money and call us back. And that way we kind of implant that, but then they really see, wow, you guys, you really are looking out for us, because some agents will just go show them anything they wanna see. Oh,
Mhm.
you wanna write an offer?
So,
Great,
make
let's do it.
so.
I've heard people that just open up the door and say, go take a look around, like,
Let me know what you
that's
think.
terrible, like, as far as we're walking around and.
I feel like I've been so nosy, but I'm like, oh my gosh, look at this closet, like,
Yeah,
I wanna get in there, and then sometimes I think, oh, maybe I should stand back and let people look.
go walk
I
around,
have
go-
learned, be
between.
careful what you say on certain things.
Yes.
Like for instance, I walked into a house and the flooring was not my taste. I would say it looked like zebra flooring. And it was, my thoughts were, you could always change the flooring as far as that's cosmetic, but I didn't say that. And our buyer walked in and goes, I love this flooring.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
And I remember even the agent saying, our biggest drawback has been the flooring.
It was awful.
We'll give a credit for it if you needed it. And I
Yeah.
remember that was why the house wasn't selling, but then I remember the buyer walking, she goes, I love this. And so you'd be surprised. Yeah.
Go with them, let them lead the way, but look for things, feel for things,
Yeah,
There's things that you're gonna notice that they're not gonna notice. They have so much going on.
Yeah.
They are shopping with emotion. We have to be behind them, pointing things out to them that they may look best.
And how do you make this a fun experience for them? So that's something, as far as, it's something that's wants to be memorable and fun for them, not stressful. So how can you take those little extra steps to make it fun?
When you're saying to be mindful of what you're saying, like the example of the zebra of flooring, does that, I'm imagining yes, but I'm curious, like, does that go the same way for things that you like? Like, I just came off of like 10 years of property management where I help people rent apartment homes. And, all you're trying to do is sell them on what you have available to sell them, because it's only this one location and this one product. So in real estate, would you say you would steer away from that? Like, I'm not trying to sell you, like, yes, you wanna point out the fatal flaws and defects and stuff like that, right? But on the opposite side, would you be like Stephanie was saying, like, look at this big old closet or things like that?
I
Or
do.
Yeah,
I would say just don't do it in a negative way. Like,
Okay.
oh, the flooring can be changed. You'd be
Assume-
surprised.
and
Yeah.
also
no,
assume that
positive
you're being
things, yeah.
recorded,
Yeah.
like, there's a listening device somewhere
Mhm.
in that house that's
Totally.
overhearing you. I try to keep it to facts on the MLS, like I'll have a sheet with me and I'll just try to keep to facts, and I'll try not to let them be too enthusiastic or too negative in the house, and then when we go outside, I want them to really like overly
Yeah.
turn the house.
That's a really good point, because zebra floors was when I first got in real estate, and that was before a lot of the recording stuff.
Right.
And so now I do tell buyers, be careful what you say. And
Positive and negative.
yeah,
So as far as building a value proposition and building that trust, though, is find out what your buyers want and speak to those things. If they're buying a home and they say, this is gonna be our first home, and well, what do you eventually wanna do? Do you wanna sell it and move up? Well, we'd like to keep it as a rental. Great, point out things that are gonna make it a good rental, okay? Yes, there's a bathtub, so tenants can give their kids a bath, whereas maybe there's only a shower on the main level. If, they want to grow their family, hey, there's room here to grow your family. Find out what they want, see if that floor plan or that home fits their needs, and then, you're not just letting them know, you're letting them know you really care about what their future plans are.
that's huge. You have to listen. We're constantly, for real estate or anything, just even conversations in life, we're always thinking about the next thing to say. But if you are truly listening to what is important to them,
Mhm.
it makes a big difference. So you really have to be a good listener. You know, maybe that's something you can convey in your value proposition as far as, listening, because I want to make sure I'm fulfilling your needs and wants. That's a huge thing, I would say.
Yep.
And then also asking as far as how do you prefer to be communicated with? Everybody's different. So that's something that we ask in the beginning. Some people say, don't call me. I just want you to text or email because I can't answer my phone throughout the day. Others say, I do not want text or email. Make sure you're calling me.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
and I'd say we talked a little bit about expectations earlier. That's another thing too, that especially being new into the real estate, I remember I was so gung-ho, like I felt like I had to jump at anything that you do have to be, as far as I would say, available to an extent, but if somebody's calling you at 11:30 at night, you don't want to, you need to set those expectations up front. Say, if it's after these hours, I'll call you back first thing in the morning, and then call them back first thing in the morning, but
There's I'm not sure
have
how, if you
boundaries.
guys use the command materials as much, or if you have your own marketing materials, but on both the buyer's consultation and the seller's consultation, that's one of the questions on the command document, so you remember to ask it.
Mhm.
Like, how do you like to be communicated with? Which one of you should I communicate with? If I can only talk to one, what times of day I go to bed? And then you can also say, and by the way, I go to bed at 9, get up at 5.
Yeah.
So, yeah, in terms of contacting me.
One thing I was gonna say that's very important. One thing we've started doing is I ask what they like to drink as far as coffee order, and then after, and like as far as if they have a beverage of choice. So as far as keeping that in mind, is if I'm going to be showing an early morning showing, I can show up with coffee for them.
Yeah.
I'll let them know that too. That way they're not getting they want double coffee.
Yeah.
Call, so let me grab your
Yeah.
coffee, and or if there's something that they like to drink after you close, that's something you can. It's about getting to know people too, as far as interest, and remember, take note of that as far as when you're showing homes with them, what do they like, and then like a lot of times we gear a closing gift around that.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I'm surprised you remember that, or
Mhm.
you'd be surprised. It's a little thing in the life.
Yeah.
Yeah, then as far as you already touched base with fiduciary, but it's just making sure you are looking out for their best interest and that they know that.
Delivering on your value proposition.
All right, does anybody need a break? Or we'll take a short break, as I say, we have a little bit, I would say. Any questions so far?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Probably not on, well, maybe it is on value, but, the conversation around like how do you handle a conversation with someone that's looking to, let's say, go with a Redfin, agent to list versus someone local? How do you handle that conversation?
Find out, I was like to list a home, I would find out what's important to them. At that point, I feel like a lot of times it's commission.
Mhm.
And so they're trying to save costs. So that's where you have to show your value as far as I'm going to take the extra steps to get you top dollar for your place. So rather than cutting commission, that's where you have to show how are you going to get them top dollar? What are you going to do to deliver that service? Versus, a lot of times, I don't know if Redfin, but a lot of the discount brokerages, you're passed off from person to person. I'm there by your side throughout the transaction. Say, as far as I have the negotiating tactics to get you top dollar. I'm not just going to put your home on the market and we market that way. Yeah. So I guess I have to say, as far as what extra steps are you going to take that maybe Redfin wouldn't? So
For a listing for those discount brokerages, for a listing it's typically the buyer's commission that they're not paying for, is that accurate?
On listings, they don't want to pay the sell side. So a lot of times they're willing to pay a co-op to a buyer's agent. So, and then they don't want to pay the listing side of it though. So it's
client.
hard. Like the
Okay.
seller.
Okay.
The seller's trying to cut costs typically on the sell side. So, say the money that we put into marketing, staging, I don't know, I would say that's a big thing as far as what little things are you going to do?
That they wouldn't be
Mhm.
doing, right, yeah, okay.
Yeah, a lot of times Redfin, or I don't know, not Redfin, but discount brokerages too, they'll cut their percentage down, but then they have extra fees hidden in there. Say, that's another
Yeah.
thing too, is say everything's included, we're a full service team.
Have you guys worked with Open Door yet? Have you?
I've shown their
I've shown their
properties.
They're
very-
always like 100,000 over price.
They're very overpriced.
And they're on for months,
So
and then
they-
they come down.
So they
five
use
times.
that as an example.
Yeah.
On why not to sell their home to Open Door,
Mhm.
because they can't buy your home at market value
And then sell it.
and then sell it and make money.
Right,
No business can be built on that.
right,
So when they say we got a good offer from Open Door, just know that it's gonna go down from there,
right,
right? Because they can't buy your home at market value.
right, and so
Turn around
that's
and
like
sell.
another hidden cost too, that you,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've shown one of their houses and I've seen a couple more, and it's just like always looking, I'm like, I can't, and I'm like, there's no way.
Well, I mean, even in this market, you've been on the market for 30 days, why?
Yeah,
Right.
and those are the ones I've seen, and that's why I'm like so curious about Redfin right now, cause I'm like, this one's been on the market for 45 days, and it's an Arvada home that I saw while door knocking, and I was like, how the heck? But it
Redfin
looks
had
sad. Yep.
Yeah.
And it looks really sad too. It's dark, it's empty, there's no shades or curtains or anything. It's just like.
Yeah. Something Open Door does too that I'm sure is a huge effect is they'll have photographs, and the first one will be, they'll say virtually staged.
Mm.
And so for me, every other photograph, I'm like, oh, is the whole thing, is this what the house looks like in terms of flooring and walls? Well, yes, actually, the one I saw was super clean. But you wouldn't know that, because once you see one fake photograph, you're like, all of these must be.
Yeah.
And it's, I just can't believe they do that, it's such a dumb idea.
So I'll give you a good example, and you can use if you're ever battling with a Redfin agent or somebody that might use a Redfin agent. We listed a home in Golden last year, and I think we listed it at 965. And got a lot of sign calls on it. It was one of those properties where people just call the sign. And I had an interested buyer, and he wanted to write an offer. It was like a Wednesday. And I presented the offer. Then I get a call from a Redfin agent, and he says, "Hey, I've shown it twice now. I'm gonna bring you a full price cash offer." I'm like, okay, this is getting a little interesting. He goes, "I'll have it submitted by like 3 o'clock." Well, I never saw it come through. So we already had the one offer from the buyer that we had brought. I presented it to the seller. Seller says, "Great, let's counter it," and we went under contract. Well, that next morning, I called the Redfin agent. I said, "Hey, I just want to let you know we did accept that other offer I told you about. I never saw one come through, so I assume you changed your mind." Because I didn't change my mind. I submitted my offer at 3 o'clock yesterday.
Never even called, didn't send it to the right
So
email.
we have.
Didn't verify, but he would have just called and said, I submitted my offer. That's one thing.
Yeah,
Submit
that
an
would
offer.
all the
for it.
difference.
Always, yeah.
So we have a separate email that's linked to CTM that's stated in broker remarks, send offers to this email address, call this phone number if you're submitting offers. Wrong email address, didn't even call, they submitted a cash offer at 965. Didn't get it because we didn't see it. So we're driving home the next day, because I think we took the kids down to Great Wolf Lodge. We're driving home and I get a call and it's the Redfin agent's buyer. And he said, "I want to know why my offer didn't get accepted." I'm like,
Okay, first of all, why are you talking?
"First off, how'd you get my number?" But whatever. I said, "I'll be completely honest with you." I said, "Your agent didn't submit the offer to me.
Didn't call.
Didn't call. I didn't know the offer was coming. Otherwise, I would have waited for it." I said, "He submitted it to the wrong email address and we never saw it." So he says, "Okay." And then I got kind of weird after that. But long story short,
Yeah, we still told our sellers about it. It still ended up, the offer we went with was a better offer. But
I don't know, it
well-
was a better offer.
as far as price.
But that's who we went with, and sellers wanted to go with him. But now I'm working with that buyer. We still haven't found
Oh,
anything.
yeah,
right.
But he's a $1 million buyer.
Yeah.
And after that,
Cash,
he
yeah.
called me back and he goes, I want to work with you. I said, "Why are you working with Redfin anyway?" He goes, "Well, I Googled them." I said, "Well, they just cost you your dream home."
Guess what?
Wow.
So you can use that. if you're ever, use that
Nice.
story.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Because that's the type of service they get. They don't read broker remarks, they don't put in the extra effort.
Right.
The
Yeah.
reason
They're
is
often
they-
not even local, like they don't know.
Don't
the
they get paid
local market.
hourly?
I was gonna say they
Oh,
get
I was
paid,
gonna ask if
yeah.
they got paid.
It's
Oh.
either
I was
hourly
like,
or salary,
you're-
so they're not,
Check
Their
is-
big listing agents are paid salaries with bonuses.
Do they have like a quota though they have to maintain in order to keep their salary on?
I don't know.
No, because I think they get fed listings, like it's like a corporation. Like,
Interesting.
They have these upper level listing agents.
When I first got into real estate, Trailora was big, and then they would sell homes for only $3,000. So that was the big thing as far as they would list homes for 3,000, but it was terrible. Their service was awful. You would call and then you never were assigned with an agent. They would say, let me look this one up in the system. And then it was just, you didn't have that service there. But then there was one time where they could have gotten more from our buyers, but just, he goes, okay, this is where we're at with offers, and we got it for a great price. It was to our advantage, but you would just, I don't know, you'd be surprised, but just by cutting commission sometimes is not going to get you the most for your net, so.
Yep.
All right, so we're going to move on.
Where are we headed?
We are headed,
Are we reflecting on our value or are we past that?
we're past value. We are know and state your value, and it's so this is some good slides. I went through them earlier, but is what are buyers wanting? So, I'd say, yes, you need to know what your clients are wanting, but it's also helpful kind of knowing, and these are back from 2018, but what do buyers want? And so this one here, as far as I would say 52% help them find the right home to purchase. I would say that is huge with everything being online. Buyers don't want, even though they're looking online, they don't want to have to find their home. They want you to find their home for them. So as far as, they just think like, oh, I'll set you up in a search, let me know which ones you like. Make sure you're actively sending them stuff, having conversations. Oh, I may know of one coming up. That's something we try to show our value is we're networking with other agents, knowing about upcoming listings. So
Especially in this market.
if we can find something ahead of time that fits your needs, then we'll be able to have that in. And so that's just, they think, okay, why do I need you if I can find everything online myself?
Yeah.
So I would say that's a huge one, is help find the right home to purchase. And that goes back to as far as not just finding the home, but also the right home. So, being honest with them when you are showing homes.
Yep.
Help the buyer. So I would say 14% is help buyer negotiate the other terms of sale. Talk about as far as they want to know they're getting a good value on a home. And in this market, it's tough because a lot of buyers think they're overpaying. So as far as, what value can you say, the one down the street just sold for X amount. So, maybe if you put a little bit of work into it, then you can get your price up to that.
I like that a lot though. It's so important.
Yeah, and with my buyers, especially in the last few months, it has been not just what you're putting as, this is the money we're offering, but what else are you offering? Are you offering an appraisal gap? Are you offering no inspection or easy inspection? Are you, make sure that the seller knows all the things your buyer's offering beyond just the cash on the bottom line.
So I think it's important to understand what buyers want. Obviously, the biggest one is to help them find the right home for purchase. But really what to look at is what do buyers value? Because if you can offer what they value, that's how you get them to stick with you for life and get referral business out of it. Agent is honest and trustworthy. You don't have to have years and years of experience to be honest and trustworthy. You just have to be I just jumped down to what buyers
I was
value
like,
could be
versus
the
what
next
buyers-
slide.
Yeah.
Yep, probably just on the next slide. Because kind of that's what we're talking about here. What do they want versus what do they value?
Yeah.
I think what they value is probably more important than what do they actually want. Because they know as a realtor, you're gonna be able to find them a house, right? That's our job.
Yeah.
So can you offer to them what they value? Are you honest and trustworthy? And that's the number one thing here. So that's why we have those conversations is what do you want? And what do you want in the future? You don't, like we said, we're not just here to help you buy a house. We're here to help you buy, and we tell them. This is probably the biggest asset you're ever gonna attain in your life. Unless you buy something bigger than that, good for you. And we want you to buy something that's going to increase in value, something that you're going to be able to call us, like we said earlier, in a few years, and something that's going to appreciate. That's how you're gonna build that trust. That's how they're gonna know they're truly listening You know, if they say, hey, we don't, you know, we only want a 2-car garage, and you send them a house with only a 1-car garage, they're gonna say, you're not listening to me. So that's why it's huge to really listen.
So we have a great example. We had someone reach out right before this class, and she just moved to Montrose, and so she's going to rent out her place that I helped her buy. But she said, you know, she goes, I've tried finding agents on Zillow, and I haven't liked any of them.
Yeah,
And she goes, it was so great working with you and your company. I want to know if you can help me find an agent in Montrose. And I said, of course, I'd be happy to interview people for you, but you'd be surprised if you make it a good experience, even if they're later on down the road, they'll remember that.
yep.
Yeah.
And knowing their value as far as, you know, she wants to keep it as an investment if she can. And she goes, if I can't, then I'll let you know if we need to sell it, but.
Yep. Another big one here is, what do they value? Agent is timely with responses. You know, when you sit down and you have the initial conversation that these are the expectations and I'm gonna be working for you, respond to them, you know, in a timely manner, but after you build those boundaries, you know, be available to them. Don't be afraid to respond to them. You know, when you're out doing something, make sure you're getting back with them right away. They don't wanna feel like, you know,
Even
they're
if it's
waiting
just
a
to say,
day.
hey, I can't take your call right now, I'm doing this, but I'll get back to you at X time. Or
Yeah.
I'm available at this.
Absolutely.
I had somebody, there was a big team in the Arvada area, and he originally reached out to him, and he goes, you know, they never called me back. Or so then, that's how they ended up losing. But as far as, you know, make sure you at least respond to people too, because they never even called me back.
It's the norm, really.
Yep,
in a lot of
absolutely.
businesses.
So we have to, you know, you have to find that balance of what do they want and what do they value. These buyers, same with sellers, you know, I'm glad they put together these numbers here though.
Yeah, I was gonna
That's
say
good to
another
know.
thing when I was listening to some of the videos earlier, reputation is huge. Make sure you have a good reputation. I would say, you know, maybe Google yourself before you let people know. That's a huge thing, because you'd be surprised how many people will Google you before they meet with you too.
Yep.
And so, you know, as far as if you need to clean up your Facebook a little bit, or
That's part of our Facebook classes.
Yeah.
Being very, very
Yeah.
intentional, and that's what I was
Especially
looking for
nowadays,
earlier.
people find anything and everything on there, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Absolutely. I mean, do you
Yeah.
want to have a picture of you on there shotgunning a beer, or,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
You know, that's how you're gonna build that kind of that face value with people, because
So wine's okay, but not shotgunning.
Yeah.
100%.
I just shot in the
Exactly what
beer
I'm
and put
saying.
on Facebook. I had country jams, I was good for it.
Yeah, exactly. I was saying people want to know you're having fun too.
Yeah.
So they want to know you're human.
I mean, if I shotgun one on 4th of July, I'd probably put it up, but not one from college.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to
All my
see-
college friends
Yeah.
are ready.
Nobody wants to see that from 12 years ago, whenever that was. Nobody wants to see that.
I
But you
have a
would be
really popular
surprised.
name, so I haven't seen myself yet in any of these pictures.
I remember there's somebody that was a referral. I didn't know them, but it was funny. I met them at Starbucks, and they said that they Googled me. Apparently, I guess there was like a porn star or something. But
Oh
they're
my
like,
gosh.
they're like, I'm glad it wasn't you. Or like, and I was like, so it was really interesting knowing that going into it. But I was like, wow,
Well,
they
the fact
actually
that they actually
Googled.
came though.
Yeah.
I know,
they
it
were-
wasn't
it was
really you.
Curiosity.
So you would be surprised. You
Yeah.
never know what's on the internet, and at least you can kind of be prepared if,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know, so if you need to. But then, yeah, I would say, you know, just looking, because they want somebody with a good reputation too. And that's
Yeah.
something that we stress for part of our values. We have a good reputation where other agents want to work with us. So that's something you can let them know, say, you know, I have great relationships with agents in the area. And so it makes a difference who you're working with.
Mhm.
That's a huge thing as far as reputation.
Yep.
So I wanted to say one more thing about it there. Awesome. Oh, another thing too, so a lot of times they may Google you or Facebook stalk you never know. So that's just to be mindful of. But if you're meeting with somebody too, I always like to maybe Facebook stalk them or Google them as well. And then that way you kind of know as far as if there's any personal connections you can create prior to that. You don't say, oh, I
Smart.
saw on your Facebook
Yeah.
this, but in a
Casually bring it up.
discreet way, but like if you know that they have dogs, you can be, or like that's something that you can maybe bring up in conversation. But don't say like, oh, I was creeping on your Facebook page, or so in a discreet way, just be
Yeah.
careful.
That's right.
So, but yeah, so it's what buyers value. Is there any other ones that we should?
No.
So there is more on your guys' page than there is.
I'd say, well, another big one to point out here, we kind
Fine.
of talked on this a little bit more, is 14% agent is a friend or a family member. That's gonna come with referrals, so that's where it goes back to don't be a secret agent. Reach out, talk to your friends and family. It was kind of tough for me when I got into real estate. I took Ignite, and Daryl Sobering was our Ignite instructor at the time. And he said, get out your phone and call your family members and tell me you're in real estate. I'm like, they know my wife's been in real estate for 5 years. They already know our family, they know. So I talked a little bit more with him, and what I did is I went to Facebook Messenger and I started reaching really deep to old friends, high school friends that I hadn't talked to in a while, old family friends, and I was actually able to get business that way.
Nice.
And then that's how you build that referral, is getting out there, you let everybody know you're in real estate, and then it's, oh, hey, my brother just got their license. We kind of talked about that at the beginning. There's a lot of agents out there, but that's how a lot of people are getting business right now. It's just a referral of a friend or a family member.
My question with that is like, because I have friends and family from Facebook that I probably haven't talked to in years.
Yeah.
How do you do that without being like, oh, like, hey, just got into real estate, now I'm messaging you after,
That's exactly what it
just
is.
it? Yeah,
That's
okay.
just a message. Hey, it's been a long time and I hope you're doing well. I just want to let you know I made a career change. If there's anything I can ever help you with in real estate, don't hesitate to give me a call. It's just
All right.
real something.
Yeah.
And if you want to soften it a little, like, I'd love to know what's new in your life after COVID, or,
And
Yeah,
everybody
when
always
connect.
asks what you're up to, and that's when, so I don't even bring it up, I just reach out to them, see what's new, or I always Facebook greet them first, and then always
Yep.
talk about that. And like an old coworker I reached out to, and I saw that she started paddleboarding with her dog, I was like, oh, I just did that, how did it go for you? And she asked me what I've been up to, and that's when I lead into the real estate, I just let them
Nice.
ask me, so that's what I usually, I don't,
And
yeah.
then the longer you're in it, you'll just see people and they'll say, how's real estate? How's
Yeah.
the market? Everybody wants to know how's the market. And so I
Yep.
hung out with, yeah.
Maybe we need to do that.
So then if we jump down to, I think that puts you guys on page 7. There's some opportunities there to fill some stuff out here. Client-centered language with buyers. So what skills do you have or services do you offer that align with what buyers want? The second one is what characteristics or habits do you have that align with what buyers value? So kind of go back to the want scale, the value scale, and see what skills, what abilities you have that are going to align with those. Your groups, let's
skills.
I know how to work lockbox as well.
Mhm.
I'm joking. That's a whole nother skill.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. But make sure you do know how to use all types of lockboxes, because the
Yeah.
ones that are the combination ones, there's some agents who still use those, and I've had agents who don't know how to use a combination one, and so I actually have a video saved if they can't get in. But
Me,
For who?
remember like the combination ones?
Yeah.
You
for like
And
the
it's
gym
not-
locker.
Yeah, you just-
I had somebody.
No, I mean, who did you save the video for? I know how to use them.
Oh, Scott.
I went to middle school too.
Scott Clicky's an agent who couldn't use it.
Oh, you
That's a
saved it
good
for
one.
another agent?
Yeah, because he was like, your lockbox doesn't work, and I was like, no, it does, you're just not using it right.
Oh my god. And also YouTube it.
Mhm.
Why did you reach it? That's embarrassing. I wouldn't.
I think we got rid
I
of
would
all
just
those.
figure it out.
We got rid of those.
You got tired of getting
Yeah.
those.
Yeah.
They were old school.
But I'm sure other people still use them, right? Like,
Mhm,
you'll still
yeah.
find.
We still
I
really
just,
do.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Not as
because I
much
did.
anymore.
I mean, actually, it was your client Megan, we were at this townhouse, and one of the keys was to a back shed.
Oh,
I
yes.
could not get that key out of the lock.
Oh,
I
shoot.
wiggled, like it was stuck.
Mhm.
And I am
Yeah,
not
nice.
done with keys. There was something was holding on to it.
Oh.
So Megan went off and I called the agent. I'm like, I just want you to know, I did lock up, but I could not get this key out.
That'll
I was
happen.
like, I can't get to that property today. They have stuff in that closet. We can't just leave it open. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go try it again, but I'm just telling you, I don't have WD-40, I don't have any graphite, like I might not.
Yeah, it happens.
I know, and you feel so responsible. You're just like, oh, I can't get this locked.
Hey, is there a certain
Yeah.
type of lockbox you guys recommend?
What's that?
Do any certain types of lock boxes? I've seen all kinds from, smart boxes to the traditional, dial to, you know, ones you can just use your phone to open them up. Is there a preference that you guys like that you find it's pretty universal for everybody?
We use the combination ones.
Okay.
We got them because they're branded. We have our logo on them.
They're not like the locker combo, they're like
Yes,
the
the
4-number
four
rollers.
dials.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
those
so
ones.
those are the ones personally that we use. I know as far as Bob is a huge fan of the Sentry Lock ones, just
Okay.
because you can see when it's open, when it's closed, who was there. It's more secure for the sellers. So I would say that's also a good option is looking into those.
Okay.
We haven't
Just
looked.
make sure you have service where you're gonna use a Sentry Lock one, because if service is spotty, it can cause issues.
Ooh,
Yes,
okay. That
That's
doesn't help
where-
up here in the foothills. There's a lot of
Yes.
areas that's spotty, but okay,
Correct.
good to know. I
yeah.
didn't think about
What-
that, so. food for thought.
Sentry Locks and Evergreen are kind of scary
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
So we do property management, and I mean, I manage properties from Colorado and San Diego, and we use one called CodeBox Inc. And I mean, it's worked great. I always have the problem of like telling people how to like push the little like flap to open it, but I mean, I open them all the way from here, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
What was that one called again?
Yeah,
What was the name of that one?
CodeBox Inc.
Codebox Inc.
Got it, thank you.
Bet.
$5 a month or something like that.
I would say those would be more secure too. And one
Yeah.
thing that we've learned is if you have a listing, always get a copy of the key and put it in your file.
Yeah.
Because sometimes agents will stick it in their pocket and forget
Yeah.
that they have it. Or if it's on it, like say if there's a front porch with a deck and they drop it in the wood slat and you can't get it, just always have an extra key because you never know.
Yeah, don't have to make that phone call and say, hey, somebody lost a key, do you have an extra one? Because then it's no. What do we do now?
Yeah.
So for
just-
all your listings, you go and make a key before you throw it into the.
Mhm.
We try to, and then we usually like to tape one in our file,
What's that?
so
What do you do with it afterwards?
Bring
give it to
closing.
new buyers. It's an extra key, yeah.
You have to ask the sellers first on that?
I usually tell them,
Yeah.
we'll make an extra key and stick it in our file.
Okay.
So that I'm telling them, I guess I'm not really asking.
And then
them.
you can bring it to the closing table as just an extra,
Yeah,
yeah.
Okay.
Leave it at
Value
the locker.
I tell them just in case something does happen to the one in the lockbox, we'll have an extra one on file.
Okay.
So does somebody want to share one of their answers for the first question? What skills or services do you offer that align with buyers' wants? Or even the second one, values as well. Does anybody want to share?
For the first one, I put that I'm bilingual, so.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Yeah,
That's huge.
it is,
Spanish.
Nice.
yeah. You're bilingual as well.
I
I
am.
remember you posted it online.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. I did
Yeah.
see a post. Maybe I thought it was you. That's right. You got it.
Yeah.
I have a few notes here. so
What
we
else?
have this.
What other values do we have that align with what buyers are looking for?
I was putting down, research skills, so we can get into the MLS, we can get into the systems to find the properties that they want.
Yep, that's one thing you can really use as your value proposition. You always ask, how are you seeing homes right now? How are you viewing homes? Well, they all say the same thing. They're on Zillow and Realtor. And you can explain the values of using the MLS, that sometimes those aren't as up to date. You can get up to date. You can get the agents, the direct agents information. Because when they go to Zillow, explain to them that they're clicking on, like what Katie's client had been finding is the premier agent. You have direct access to the agent, direct access to that information. So really use that as a value prop as well. And tell them, that all the information comes from the MLS and then it syndicates down. So you have access to the very top information center. So make sure we're using that as well.
It's a huge one for buyers is knowing your market. So if you're showing them a home and they say, see the sign across the street, what's that one for sale? And then I would say no, and then, take it a step further. If you know it's under contract, call that agent, say, if it's doing market analysis, do you mind sharing what you're under contract at? And sometimes they'll share, sometimes they won't. But you say, are you over your list price? If at least if your buyer knows that, then maybe they'll feel more comfortable being competitive.
Yep, absolutely. Get to know the market, understand what's going on. That way you can have easier conversations. We've kind of talked about that with some of the other agents as setting the expectations of the market we're in right now. If their top max number is 500, don't show them homes at 500.
Yeah.
right? Because they're not gonna have an
Unless
opportunity.
they've been on the
yet.
market for a while.
Maybe, and then explain to them why that is as well, explain to them what appraisal gap is, things like that, that's where they're gonna see their value. And unfortunately, learning all those things in this class is gonna be tough to do, but, learn the appraisal gap coverage, what that is, learn what those escalation clauses are as well. That way, you can have, informed conversations with your potential buyers, and again, you're really showing value there. Hey, we are in a tough market, but guess what? I have some strategies that when there's 15 or 20 offers, I bet only 2 or 3 other agents know about these strategies that we're gonna use to set ourselves aside. And that's where, getting with Margaret, really learning on which strings to pull when you're writing a contract are gonna make a big difference. Using escalation clauses, some agents hate them, some don't mind. If they don't mind, use them. And then the appraisal gap coverage, really finding out, learning what is important during a home inspection to a certain buyer. Some buyers, they're gonna look at the inspection and say like, that's nothing, I can take care of that. Me and my dad can take care of that. Or they're gonna look at it and say, well, Katie, what do you think we should do? And that's when you can say, well, I have a handyman. Let me get a quote from him. And hey, it's only gonna be this much, you guys. It's not a big deal. So Katie mentioned that earlier on. Value with buyers, get a lot of good contractors in your back pocket. Handyman, sewer scope, you can go over that in your buyer consultation. I have a handful of home inspectors, sewer scope, people that do that type of work, and say, really anything that comes up, I have somebody for it, just in case you need it. Oh, wow, so you're really connected. That means a lot to them, okay?
That's actually one of the things I put down is by having local knowledge and local connections, you can teach them about the neighborhood, you can tell them who would be good, talk to these people about financing, et cetera, so.
Absolutely, yep, build those relationships with lenders, cause first time buyers, they don't really know where to start.
They're always afraid.
If you have some good lenders you can put them in touch with that are actually good lenders, if you're gonna be giving referrals, make sure.
Make sure,
they-
you don't wanna
Make sure they're
shoot yourself in the foot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and Debbie mentioned yesterday, which I think is so smart, she's like, I need to go through, man, and take people out that I've noticed recently, their work isn't as good as it used to be, or, they've done something that I don't think was quite the value that is my, standard, so.
Absolutely, yep, if they're doing subpar work,
Yeah.
boot them, on to the next one. We've had contractors that we used for
Excuse me.
2 or 3 or 4 jobs and did a good job and then
It just takes the one,
ghosted somebody and it's
yeah,
like,
it just takes the
That's all
one
it
bad
takes,
job.
yeah.
right, exactly. So that's a huge value proposition we lean on, especially me coming out of the construction industry or the amount of contractors we have. That's more, I wouldn't say it's more for sellers, we're gonna jump into sellers, it looks like. Really take some time and get to know some good contractors. Huge value there. Especially when you're looking at homes right now that have been on the market, and I think what we're seeing and what we've been talking about lately with other agents is the ones that need a little bit of work are the ones that are sticking around a little longer. These bougie buyers want brand new homes and.
Well, the thing is, interest rates are so low, buyers would rather spend more
Yeah.
at a lower interest rate
Right.
and not have to do any work
Yeah.
versus if they have to go into a home, they're already paying at the top of the market and they have to put money into
And
it.
that's a question we always ask at a buyer consult. Do you want something moving ready, or are you okay taking on some projects?
And to find your idea of work.
Right. So
Sometimes
say-
people think
Yeah.
like paint or like, I don't know, they're like, some are not as handy as you think.
Yeah.
So then if you're showing homes and you are starting to get an idea of what it costs to do some of the homework, you can say, well, hey, I got a guy that can look at this and give you a number, and then all of a sudden it's a possibility as opposed to, well, we can't take on that project. It's all of a sudden, well, that's actually not too much. Find a good carpet guy, find good painters. You can snap pictures to it and say, hey, how much would it cost to paint this house? And you can say, hey, I took some pictures and it turns out it's not gonna be that much.
Right.
So you can really open up possibilities to them there as well.
All right, so now we'll jump into the seller side of what sellers may want.
Everything.
Money.
If this
Yeah.
was from 2021, it would be the world.
I know. That is true. This is from 2018, which is always changing too. So it's, I
That's from
think,
2020.
2018.
Says right, says 2018.
Bottom of my page says 2020.
Oh, you might have different
If
numbers.
night
That's
vision-
when
Stats.
it was printed, like,
The
Yeah.
data must be from
Yeah.
2018.
Yeah, see at the bottom of the chart, it says
Right.
2018.
Which I have to say
Garbage.
though, we have been in a seller's market for as
Yeah.
long as I've been in real estate,
Yeah.
so, it's been for a while. So
So
maybe,
what sellers
yeah,
want? Help them sell their home to potential buyers. Got it. Thanks for pointing that out.
Yes. and help price the home competitively. I think one thing is, we've talked about this, right now is the hardest time to price a home. So, as far as when you are doing your CMA, buddy up with somebody to say, hey, this would be good practice for each other. Do you mind doing a CMA as well? And then compare it.
Yeah.
For Jordan and I, being on the same team, we've always done that. We
Yeah.
both do a CMA and then we have a little bets going with our who's closer. So makes it fun too.
It
But
does.
it is hard to price a home until you're out actually previewing homes, understanding the market too. Right now is the toughest time, I would say, to price a home.
So through the office, a lot of the syndication is paid for. So, one of the biggest one here is to help seller market the home to potential buyers. You tell them, I have access to the MLS. I have access to syndicate, and we pay to syndicate to all these other websites. Because when you enter a listing,
Yeah,
you click on, I don't
who you're
know,
gonna post it on.
whatever they're gonna go to.
Okay,
So if that's what's most important to them, that's checked off. I'm marketing to, if there's somebody looking to buy a home in your neighborhood, they're gonna see it. And we always tell people, there's always people looking in your neighborhood. We're gonna get it out there for them to see.
Mhm.
Help price the home competitively. That's a huge one. When I'm trying to think, and that would probably maybe be a conversation for Margaret. For us, we're able to look back at our stats and print off our stats and say, hey, we sell homes in this amount of time for
List
this
is still
amount of price. Now, I know our office as a whole is killing it. Take those stats.
Yeah.
This is what my office does,
Yeah.
and this is who I'm learning from.
Mhm.
Or maybe, I don't
Or
know.
you had to say, this is our office.
This is our office.
Yeah,
This is the standard my office expects. This is what I'm going to uphold, right? So you have the ability to do that. Time frame is huge. So again, that's really what it comes down to. Get a listing appointment, find out what they want. If your seller wants, what is your time frame? What are we doing here? Do you have 6 months? Do you want to go have a new build done? Are you moving? Find out what they want. And then again, lean back on those stats. Well, hey, guess what? Days on market for my office is here. Those are my expectations. That's what we're gonna do. Okay? Help find a buyer for home. I don't know.
That's one
If
thing
that's important to them. is
yeah,
it?
sometimes I would say, one thing that we offer is we are actively trying to find a buyer for your home. We offer a variable commission, so we'll give you a little bit of a break to save you some money there. But one thing we tell sellers is you really want to put your home on the market because you don't want to short yourself
Yeah.
with the demand right now.
Yeah,
So-
especially in this market.
But there's some people that really don't want to go to market, so if that is important to them, say, we have options.
Yep.
We just want to make sure you're aware that you could get the most by actually putting it on the market.
I would disagree that that's.
Is that what they mean
huge-
by help find a buyer for home? Isn't that the same as,
Yeah,
isn't that what we're trying to do? I didn't understand.
that's what I said. That's why I
Yeah.
had laughed at the first one and I thought,
Yeah.
It's a lot of times I think that they can save money because if you find the buyer through our offering a variable commission, then they may save on the commission side if you have both sides.
So-
The percentage of that actually happening is,
Well, and we can't do dual agency either.
can't do dual
You
agency.
can't
do dual
you can
agency.
do it within the,
but you can bring a buyer to your
Right.
You
transaction.
can do
Oh, yeah.
work as a transaction broker, or you could treat that buyer as a customer. So
Yeah.
we've done that before,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
we remained a seller's agent and then treat that buyer as a customer and then still do both sides.
So we always bring that up as a possibility. We always say we'll give you a break on the commission if we're able to do that. And we tell them that's our goal, is to bring you a buyer.
yeah.
Honestly, does it happen very often? No.
Not a lot.
My very first listing I had, I brought a buyer and it was a nightmare to double in your very first listing. But I
didn't
love that.
think you wanted to do it again, huh?
No, not at all. But that very next one, I love that. What's important a seller wants, help a seller find a way to fix up the home to sell it for more. That's where it's really, really big to preview homes. And like I was saying earlier, 200,000, a perfect example, and I use Denver West. We had some sellers call us last summer in Denver West, and they'd started a main floor remodel. And husband was like,
Didn't finish it.
I can't finish this. And I'm like, yeah, no, what happened?
Husbands.
So we said, listen, I have all the contractors you need. They were just gonna do flooring, I think, and trim, but their kitchen was awful. Cabinets needed to be painted, countertops were original, and I was like, listen, let's just get you a quote to paint your cabinets and do some granite. And I think between those two, it was like $5,500 total. They were into it for like 20 or 25. And again, not everybody has the ability to do this, but if you have the ability to speak on it, right? So they were into it for 25. And had they not done the work, we would have sold it for what? 530s, 540s? They did the work and we sold it for like 760
Right.
because it was gray and white, all the things
That
you
was exactly
dislike.
right.
But
Well,
we
I love it.
had
It's
this.
beautiful.
We did granite, but we had the skills. Now what we told them is 25 here in Denver West, 25 grand.
Yeah.
Goes like this.
Right.
25 grand at 80th and Sheridan behind Los Arcos does not go like that.
Yeah.
Because you're at 80th and Sheridan. Unfortunately, that's the way it goes.
There's also, you know, you can find statistics on what's most valuable and usually bathrooms are more valuable to redo than kitchens. And,
Right,
you know, so being knowledgeable about
100%.
that stuff.
right. But also being knowledgeable to know that a typical bathroom remodel right now will cost you $12,000
Right.
just to do a bathroom. Which
Right.
is not a whole lot, but it's expensive.
It's expensive, but
So
it
if you
adds
could
value.
recommend, yeah, and if they have the money to do it,
Yeah.
do it. If it makes sense in the area, do it. So
Mm-hmm.
what you can do is go, when you pull your comps and say, hey, here's, and you can usually find in the last 6 months to a year, here's your floor plan, very similar, here's it updated, here's it not updated. So let's figure out how much it's gonna cost to get here. And if there's a margin
Mhm.
and you wanna do it, let's do it.
Yeah.
So that just takes a little bit of research and time, but if
Yeah.
you're, but the biggest thing is what we tell people you get your money back on, carpet and paint.
Yeah.
Get a good carpet guy, get a good painter, because carpet and paint are huge. Paint covers up smell. You do the gray, you do
Hopefully.
the taupes.
Yeah, some smells.
Unless your painter smokes.
Yeah.
We went to a house in Nevada and came out and we all smelled like ashtrays. It was like crazy.
Yikes.
It was
Yeah.
a beautiful house.
Could have stayed outside.
Yeah.
That's the one I let them go see. But carpet and paint, so help them, if you have the ability to help them fix up their home. And then also, you know, you have to be able to explain to people, like we looked at one last year in Littleton that we ended up buying ourselves and flipped it, but they only had one bathroom on the main and it needed to be remodeled big time, and they were getting quotes like 12, 15, 16 grand. And they wanted to know if they did that, could we then sell at this price? And we said, well, no, we understand it's a $15,000 bathroom,
Mhm.
but people expect to have a bathroom.
Yeah, they're not gonna
Yeah.
pay you 30,000 extra because
Just-
of that.
Exactly.
They
Yeah.
might if it's a metal railing with wires.
So.
She's on
then-
it.
It's crazy to me.
Well, yeah, because
Yeah, they're
that's, you know,
expensive
that's an
HD
upgrade.
TV.
Metal railings are
That's an
Yeah.
upgrade.
Yeah.
Now, because they're paying for a brand new
It's a third time all
bathroom,
stuff now.
they feel like it's an upgrade, but it's not.
We'll see.
People expect to have this.
Yeah.
You know, if you go into,
They don't know what the house looked like without that second bathroom.
right, if you go and they have a
Okay.
T-lock roof, and you say, guys, we're, you know, either you do it now or, you know, we do it down the road, you may suggest doing that. Those are the things that buyers are going to, even in this market, buyers are going to expect to have done.
Yeah.
Now, the upgraded handrail with the wiring stretched through it, that's an upgrade. That's stuff people pay
That's the
extra
shiny
for.
penny that
Yep.
buyers are
Chip
liking.
Gaines was here.
I know.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Mhm.
Those are the things, so you kind of have to start discerning what buyers would expect. You know, if there's a broken concrete patio from the street to the front door that's all broken and sunk, and they replace it, people kind of expect to have those things.
Mhm.
You're not gonna get X amount more just because you replaced something like that. So,
Yeah.
having the ability to help, you know, really say, if you only put this into it, we're gonna attract so many more buyers,
Mhm.
right? Because not everybody's looking for a project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, that's a huge one there. What other values are there? Well, those are wants. I guess we can go to the values. Reputation's huge.
We always tell our
Um,
sellers it makes a difference whose name is on the sign.
Yep.
So, you know, don't want to be that agent that has a bad reputation. Let them know you have a good reputation. Let them know that you're full-time, you're professional, you're gonna answer the phone. This isn't just a hobby for us, is what we tell people.
Yep.
Say, now, let them know that you have a good reputation. Let them know about our office. Say, you know, we have a great or I don't know, as far as the reputation of the office if you need to. And that's another thing too, going back to the honest and trustworthy. When we meet with them, we always tell them, we're not here to tell you a high price just to get the listing. So you say, we're going to be honest when it comes to even pricing the home, just because we don't want to be the one that's going to be chasing the market with price reductions. And I appreciate that. You know, as far as when it comes to pricing, you don't wanna overprice it either.
Yeah.
Right. No, we just flat out tell people, we're gonna be completely honest with you, because there are agents out there that are gonna walk in here and tell you they can get you here. Okay, and they're telling you that to get your business, because in 2 or 3 weeks, when you're still on the market and all your neighbors have sold their homes, what's easier to do, a price reduction or go find a brand new agent? They know that, those agents know that, they're just gonna ask you to do a price reduction, say, fine, Stephanie, just lower the price, let's get this over with, cause I don't wanna get a new agent.
And they're
Right.
frustrated and they're mad, so you wanna make it a good experience for them on the sell side as
Right.
well.
Well, and also, if you're in a 6-month situation with a contract, they're not gonna want to necessarily wait 5 months for you to be out of contract to go to
Mhm.
somebody else.
And we tell people that when we go over the listing agreement with them, it says, hey, this right here, and they're back to back, says, if you're being unrealistic, or if I'm not doing my job, you can fire me, but if you're being unrealistic, I can fire you too. And we kind of make a joke about it.
Yeah.
But we tell them, we're gonna price this right the first time, because we're gonna get this done, we're gonna get it done correctly.
Mhm.
Instead of lie to you, because
And
that's just
Dave-
not what we do.
Another thing too, is say if it's a substantial amount, like actually we wanna start here where it's just too high. You don't always have to take a listing too, just say, I'd rather be a great service to you, and so. But like, for instance, we have one right now and we kind of told her a price range, but she wanted to start a little bit higher, and I'm saying, no, given the market, let's give it a try. We did, and we didn't have offers, so she's realistic as well. She knows her price point and what we told her, so that's a good thing too, is if they do want to start a little higher, give it a try, especially right now in this market, but they say, hey, we want to start 100,000 than what you told us. Say, I have to be realistic too, my name's on that sign, I have a reputation.
Yeah.
Right. 4% is, agent's commission. That's really not something that they're too concerned about. And you'll find that. I mean, I know everybody here, we practice the objections at the listing appointment, like, well, let's talk about commission. Honestly, it doesn't happen that much. It really doesn't, but that also goes into, your value proposition. And I don't know if we're actually gonna cover it in here, but, what are you offering as far as marketing goes, besides putting it in the MLS?
And professional photography.
That's what I was gonna go,
Yeah.
Katie and I, we provide professional photography. If we think
And
it's worth
beyond
it-
that, because a lot of people now have jumped on the professional photography bandwagon, so
Yep,
what steps do you take even beyond that step?
absolutely. Another good thing, and our old team leader, you guys would know, he was here when I was here. You kind of create a little bit of a problem for them, because they've all heard, any home sells in this market right now. Are they wrong?
Kind of,
No.
maybe.
A
Some.
little, I mean, you're right, you put it in the MLS and a lot of stuff gets done, but there's so much that goes into it that they just don't know about. You can start talking about things that come up with inspection. Not all buyers they're not just gonna buy something with, if there's sewer problems or roof problems, and how are we going to negotiate through those?
You also tell them your highest offer isn't always the best offer. You want the best offer that's going to get you to the closing
Yeah,
table.
absolutely.
So that covers all those things there.
Yeah, your strength, your reviewing, getting strong offers, things like that. What else was I doing?
Sorry.
No, you're fine. No, I can't quite remember.
As far
But
as,
I was saying, the things you are willing to offer, make sure they know that, obviously, as far as the value proposition, the professional photography. Yes, homes do sell, but you do have to paint a little bit of an issue. I mean, do they understand what appraisal coverage is? And, okay, you list it at 600, and somebody's gonna walk in here with an offer of 725, great. What if it only appraises at 595? Unless I do a really good job for you, you may end up having to sell your home for 595.
Right.
And that's what people don't understand right now.
Yeah, or go back on the market.
Yeah, exactly. So you can kind of create that value there. And again, there's a whole nother class, that could be taught on appraisal gaps and when to use them and how much to use them and things like that. But they're important right now. So if you're going on listing appointments, you should really be able to speak to being able to review offers and look at appraisal coverage. Because like Katie said, your highest offer is not your best offer. We've seen that. We've gotten offers accepted on our end that were not the highest. We've had our sellers not take the highest offer because they're just not the strongest.
Right.
I mean, if it's 25 over with no appraisal coverage, but you have one at 20 over with 15 in appraisal coverage, I'm gonna say, like, I would look at that one, because worst case, you're only going down to here. But if this one only appraises here, because there are bad appraisers out there.
Yeah.
It's true, they are. So if they get that low appraisal, it's like,
you wanna make
either-
sure they get to the closing table.
Yep,
Straight
absolutely.
there.
So to show your value, you kind of have to create an issue that they don't know that's there, because all they see is what's in the news, what's on Facebook, what their
Yeah.
friends and family are telling them.
What the
I
neighbors. are
sold
saying.
for 100 over and it was the best experience ever. Well, I'm sure there was something involved in it.
And honestly, what sellers want, and it's not on here, but they want to get to the closing table.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They want to close the deal.
Especially if they're buying another home. That's a huge thing.
Yeah.
I would say one thing that could fit for buyers and sellers I forgot to mention is also just knowing your contracts. That's a huge one.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
we'll go down to, I believe it's page 9 here, and it's what skills do you have or services do you offer that align with what sellers want? So it's the same questions
Yep.
here, but just on the sell side.
Yeah, what do you have that they want? What do you have that they value? Because those, again, they're two separate things.
Yes, we'll give you a couple minutes if you want to fill those out. Won't spend a lot of time, that way we'll make sure we value your time and get you out like here at 1:30.
Yeah. We can skip the technology. Just can't.
This is so helpful, you guys.
Good.
I've taken this class before and I didn't fill out anything, so.
Good. Happy to hear that.
Just staying connected with the market. That's how you're gonna have the most value. You can answer questions quickly, efficiently.
And the thing is, if you don't know an answer to a question, say that's a great question, let me find out for you. Don't just try to make up something either. You want to be that resource where you know the answers to questions, but if you don't know, just say, let me find out for you. They'll appreciate that.
A long time to learn that. It's okay to just say, hey, I don't know. I'd love to know. Find out.
I mean, just real fast. How much time do we have? About 20 minutes?
22 minutes.
I know it doesn't really matter, but I really like a well-crafted description.
Yeah.
With complete sentences. So I don't know if that's a marketing value, but I think it is when you list a house and you like have a really chunky description that's full of active verbs.
Do you know
Remarks?
what's funny is it used to be a limit on how many you could put in there,
Right.
so it was to the point where you tried to fit everything,
was
you had to
shorthand.
cut, you had to really cut out a lot
Yeah.
because it was so tiny, and so I
Yeah.
remember like changing all the and signs or like,
Yeah.
and then you take out period, like,
Yeah.
it was to a point where
So
like
only for
certain
particular
spaces.
characters, yeah.
You had it like short and choppy, so I'm sure a lot of agents are still used to that.
See, I only look for a few different words in the remarks. I scan it.
I read them like they're novels.
That's,
And sometimes I'm like, I'm so dissatisfied with this novel.
I look for
I've had people tell, or I remember an appraiser,
I look
he's
for
a
as is, and I
buyer.
look for new.
The new things, yeah. I have a appraiser and he's been a buyer for multiple and he goes, no one reads the remarks. Because I
do.
remember asking him the remarks on one of his places he was selling. He's like, I don't care about the remarks, nobody reads them. And like from an appraiser standpoint, I remember. But some people really do. So I would just say, You have to
I'm
find,
gonna stick to it.
Yeah.
It's just one of the things I like.
I have to say, my pet peeve is when there's spelling errors.
Oh, yeah.
I just,
Typos I get,
yeah.
but spelling out.
No
Like-
excuse for typos.
Isn't that the same thing?
Not necessarily, like you can tell if it's just if it's like something's like just changed, order. Because
It's not the same
sometimes
for me.
a key gets pressed accidentally.
Either way, they're not proofreading it.
But if it's,
Yeah, that's what
yeah. But if they haven't looked up how to spell the word, right, then I know. See, I'm not a college professor, I know when there's flammery going on.
Lim flammery.
Top of dress. I can't spell something.
All
I still
right.
look up words.
Well, actually, while we're talking about that, one thing we can talk about real fast is your ability to enter listings correctly. Because I'll tell you what we see and please do it correctly, we see people marking an attached two-car garage as an attached two-car carport. So when you have a buyer that says, I have to have at least a two-car garage or bigger, and you set up that search, you say two-car attached garage, right? Well, when I list a home and I put a carport and it has an attached garage, your buyer doesn't see it.
Yeah.
So it's huge as a listing agent. That's something you can talk about your value, is the time you're gonna take to input the listing correctly and use that story, because we use that in our listing.
Yeah.
It's why it's so important to use a professional that's going to enter everything correctly to a T, because if you don't, you're gonna cut out buyers. If you list, what's another example? Single levels, multi-levels?
I would say floor plans are huge. A
Floor
lot of
plans
people
are
do the
huge.
wrong floor plans. Like they think it's a they put bi-level and it's really a tri-level. And like, we sometimes have buyers who say like, I specifically do not want a bi-level. Or like,
Yeah.
so.
And from the buyer's agent side, you can say, I know how to set parameters so we won't miss those properties, because I'm gonna assume a lot of listing agents will not enter things correctly, so let's make sure we don't miss a property.
You're exactly right. We always say, we always account for agent error because not all agents input the listings correctly. So say if you really want a two-car garage, we'll assume that maybe they come with it, but that's something we're looking out for.
Right,
Or
you're
like,
looking
for
at
instance,
pictures.
if somebody really wants a fireplace, if an agent doesn't check fireplace box
Yeah.
or input that, then you'll miss out on a great home when maybe there really is a fireplace. So that's something that we tell them, we account for agent error. We keep our search very broad, but having these conversations, we are finding out what you want and what you like and what you need, that we'll keep our eyes out for.
And the entry really, really matters. It's very important. Yep. So that's another way you can separate yourself and create value around yourself, is your ability to do that correctly. And honestly, it's not hard to do. You just take the time to do it.
Yeah. The next slide, it says, who are your competitors? I would say this is a big thing. If you are going up against, on a listing, you're going up against other agents, you can ask ahead of time as far as who else are you meeting with. If they're meeting with somebody who's a big team and you're a solo agent, that's where you can say, I'm going to be with you throughout the whole transaction. I'm not just going to pass you off to somebody else on the team. That's maybe something important. Find out what the strengths and the pros and cons, like team versus
Can we
solo
say
agent.
that about you?
I know you
Yeah.
like Katie and Jordan, but really?
So I was gonna say, as far as know what your competition
They're
is.
siblings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
but
But no, to that point, if you know they're going up against other agents, don't ever say anything bad about anybody
Yeah.
else. 'Cause
Yeah.
that never reflects well on
Make
you,
it positive about you.
right?
And reputation is on the line, so
Yeah.
yeah.
As soon
Yeah.
as you put somebody else down, that's just a
Yeah.
it just, and they're-
there's
what I'm
people that
talking
do
about.
that. They know that, they'll put others down to try to get ahead, but then it doesn't make you look good.
No,
So-
yeah.
Yeah, everybody knows, and that's not just real estate, that's anything, right?
Yeah.
As soon as you start putting somebody else down, it's like, what does that say about you?
Yeah.
So just remain positive, but there are competitors out there, and I would, instead of worrying about that, just focus on what you do and what you do
Yeah.
well, instead of worrying about what your competition is, because, it's, like Katie said, there's the good days outweigh the bad, but you're gonna have bad days. You're gonna go on appointments, you're gonna lose, they're gonna say you don't have the experience, but the more you do it, you're gonna keep running into more success.
That's so true. And that's the thing, is there's plenty to go around for everyone. You would be
Yeah.
surprised. People have to buy and sell every day.
That's what we used to say that, I don't know, a lot of realtors.
There is a lot of realtors, but at the same,
Has this office grown in the last couple of months? It seems like you guys, it's been exponential in terms of the new new kids on the block.
I think we're up to about 125.
It's great.
Yeah.
When I joined, there was about 120, and then it went down. I think.
What happened, so this was with a lot of Keller Williams office, but people
Oh,
would
yeah.
leave, but then they didn't take people off their roster. So then there was ghost agents. So then what they did is they scrubbed everybody now, no, there's no more ghost agents, so everybody's numbers did drop. And then I think we got down to like 80 for a while.
That's like.
Yeah, we were at family reunion and they did like a Ghostbusters, like,
Yeah.
to make a joke about like, cause yeah, there were people that had passed and they were still on agent.
So then that's the thing is now we're back up to,
Now we're back.
They're in real estate heaven, that's right, is what you.
That's right.
which it's funny, if you have tough transactions, one thing when I got in real estate, my dad goes, don't worry, it's the real estate gods that are testing you. Make sure that you're cut out for this business.
Yep.
So remember that.
Some are gonna just roll right through to closing, no problem, and some are gonna fight you.
Some you're gonna really earn your money on.
I'll call Jim when that happens.
Yeah.
He can
There's
hold my
times,
hand.
yeah, I
Yeah.
was just
They
say,
happen.
there's some times where you really earn your commission and more.
Mhm.
Going on to technology. And so real quick before, who are your competitors? I would say that maybe other agents who you might be up against, but then also brokerages too. You know, like we've already discussed this with Redfin, you know, as far as they can pay the service. So I would say if they're up against a discount brokerage, and like Jordan said, you go on appointments, you won't get all of them. And that's the thing. Sometimes, you know, they have a family member that got into real estate or it does come down to commission.
Yep.
At the same time too, you have to know your value and what your time's worth.
And you know, again, in terms of talking about, you know, what's your value, use Keller Williams as your back pocket. Talk about Red Day. Talk about
The technology while we're on it.
Yeah, the technology.
Mhm.
Talk about the mega relief that Keller Williams puts together. You know, during Katrina they did, and during all the flooding in Texas they did. What is it?
Talk about
KW Cares.
our values, our
Yeah.
motto, you know, God and family come first, and then as far as in your business.
Yep. Yeah, really lean into KW and the things that KW provides and values that KW provides. Because it's what's yours is theirs. Something like that.
Going on to increase your value with technology. I heard you laugh. No. Oh, I thought you were laughing at us.
Oh, no, I was laughing, the freezer wasn't closing. I was
Oh.
wondering what was going on in the cord, like the microwave cord was in it.
No, we're at increase your value with technology, so we thought we heard you laugh at us.
Oh, you guys got this.
Yeah. Since we're so savvy with command and all. Occasionally I do not use command at the moment.
I know, we actually are getting on board though, so we're really excited about it.
It didn't have the ability to do what we need to do with our database until now, so.
Yes, but there's a lot of great features. Is like one thing that you can set them up on the neighborhood nurture and smart plans.
Yep.
You know, that way people want to know what's selling after the transaction. People are wanting to know what's closed around them. You know, as far as what value can you still provide with technology even after the transaction.
I mean, let's be
And
honest.
staying in touch with
everybody
them.
Here knows more about command than monitor. So. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, so that's
It's a give and take relationship,
But the
right?
monthly neighborhood is huge. And we do something similar. We just do it through a search with the MLS, or if somebody reaches out like, hey, you know, I might move in 6 months, you know, what's the market doing? And we'll give them an update. We'll talk to them and say, hey, I'll just set up a search around your neighborhood. That way you know when anything comes on the market. So it's almost like a buyer search, but it's a seller search. Keep them updated. You can do the same thing through command, which is what.
Yeah.
I think the most important thing is staying in touch with people, and at least with this command, it gives you the ability to make sure to stay in touch with people. We do it a
Yeah.
different way that we still make sure we are staying in touch, but as far as having those reminders too,
Yep.
is very important.
Yep.
So that's one thing is when after the transaction, you have to stay in touch. So as far as they have the chart, there's technology benefit for client. And there's some clients who are tech savvy. So, you know, as far as helping them with it.
Mhm.
CTME is awesome,
Yes.
right?
CTM is great. We can talk about-
Electronic and
Mhm.
super easy.
You can definitely use that as a value proposition, you know, because they're gonna, you know, you can kind of paint that, you know, what happens when we go into contract, and we have to sign everything. in paper, so you can tell what
Yeah.
CTM.
If anybody has thought they just use DocuSign, I would encourage you to do your free month of CTME.
Is it
worth
better
the
than
bomb.
DocuSign?
It is, and more people use it.
Oh,
So a
okay.
lot of times.
In Colorado.
In Colorado.
Really?
A lot of times you'll see in the broker's comments that you need to submit things through CTM anyway.
Somebody might tell you
Oh,
that
okay.
CTM will eventually get flushed out of Colorado, because I think it's only in Colorado people use CTM. But people who use it here, like Stephanie said, it's awesome.
Mhm.
Yes.
It's so easy.
It's really super easy and very organized.
And it populates everything, right? Like I already know,
Populates,
right? You don't have
you
to drop
Right.
inside. I hate having to grab, like drag it if you don't have
If
the
you
template
do
already.
things right, it populates.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
you can, yes.
For the most part.
So if you run into this, and we'll just point this out, if something doesn't sync correctly, it's probably because somebody put the wrong address in the listing docs. So if it doesn't sync, call CTM and they'll figure out why.
Okay.
And that's when
Nice.
it comes to you figure out what kind of an agent you're working with, because they did put the wrong zip code, put the wrong city. And it's like,
Okay.
oh boy, here we go.
Here we
We'll
go.
fix it.
All right, so we've got about 10 minutes left. The next activity is to create your value proposition. This is something that I'll be honest, you're not going to create within 10 minutes. We've had a lot of great conversations.
Yeah.
But this is something you may need to think about, as far as what is your purpose, what is your value, and then coming up with that statement and then practicing it too. You're probably gonna have to revise your statements because they have first craft your value proposition on page 12. And this here with the web, they have as far as the skills, the services, the knowledge, the character, those things that you are going to be delivering. And then if you want to add on a couple of other items as well. But find out what your strengths are. What is your true value? And we can spend some time on that right now. But then after that on page 13, that's where you come up with your statement. And so I would say, I don't know, my thoughts are keep it short and sweet, but still cover the bases.
Yeah.
So don't be too
Okay.
lengthy. And make sure it's all about how you deliver it as well. How you convey that to whether you're working with a buyer or a seller.
Yep.
So, and you probably, it's practice it in front of the mirror, record it, listen to yourself.
Use your why.
Use your why. And then practice it with other agents, here in the office, we're all in this together, or even with your family, get feedback. Say, how does this sound? Like, you'll probably revise it a few times.
Yep.
So if you need to write in pencil, you can do that too.
I can't remember. So our office has a mission statement, but this is a little different from that. The mission statement. And these could just be, ideas, and you're kind of gonna, whatever you write down as your value proposition, you're gonna transform into something probably a little bit different that comes out of your mouth. Because the way you write it down is not gonna come out of your mouth the same,
Yeah.
right? So that's why you keep practicing, you keep practicing, you keep practicing.
It's good hearing scripts, and then you can take things from scripts. You may not say it word for word, but over
That's what I was
time
having trouble with.
over time you will come up with your own scripts and dialogue.
Yeah.
And I like this little graph. Do you guys have this one with like
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
little spider on it? Service, character, skills, and knowledge. And I would say character is above all of that. If they don't believe in you and trust you, your skills and services and knowledge don't really matter, because there's
Yeah.
agents that are, up to date with the numbers in Denver, right? They know exactly what's going on in every single neighborhood. But if people don't like them, who cares? Good for you that you know that stuff. If somebody doesn't trust you enough to sell their home, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If people don't like you, who cares that you know all that stuff?
And the thing is, it's not so much about you guys, it's more about them. So, how do you take the skills and turn it around to help them?
Yeah.
Come from contribution. We've learned that.
Yep.
We're learning every day. That's the thing you always learn in this business.
Yes, you're always learning. Once you have it figured out, it moves another direction. And smile. Jim says that increases your face value.
Oh, Jim.
We're putting him to work lately.
I have it.
Yeah.
About time.
I know.
Just taking some time off.
You have to remember, there's a lot of things you can do in this business, but anything works, nothing doesn't.
Yeah. as far as marketing goes.
Mhm.
You can pay all the money in the world or just be out there and be in front of people.
You can't just expect it to come to you.
Correct. Is anybody online? Do you guys have any questions or anything you guys wanted to cover while we have a few minutes left?
One of my favorite things is learning from other people's mistakes, which I wish I would have paid attention to when I was much younger. But what's really valuable to me is, like you saying, agents putting things in the MLS wrong and then looking for that. I mean, one, I'm not going to mislist anything in the MLS, and two, I had no idea that was a thing. You know, they say they want it with the 2-car attached garage situation, and then with buyers and sellers wants or their wants and value. So something I did and that I like to do, maybe because I like the drama, but read reviews. And so when people come at you with the Zillow stuff, like, and you'll really get in tune with what upsets, what frustrates buyers and sellers. And the biggest thing is communication. They just want people to call them back. And even as far as Keller Williams reviews, which are way better, but Better Business Bureau on Zillow, it's like 1.2 stars, right? And I'm like, well, why is that? Like, Zillow's huge. And then you get into it, and it's to me, it's just, I like the drama and the good reviews as well. What did an agent do well that made someone happy? So that's just something I read when I'm bored sometimes to get some insight on what's going on.
To do that.
And that's very important. When you have a transaction with somebody, ask them for a review. A lot of times they would be willing to talk about the experience with you, and then you can build on that as far as, you know, when you are meeting with people, say, you know, if you want a testimonial, and you can, like I was listening to the video for this before, you can get testimonial, like say for instance, you haven't done a deal yet, get a testimonial from maybe your friends as far as your character goes. Like, you know, this person here is, you know, she's always been like, you know, get those kind of reviews as well.
Yep.
I found that exchanging that with like contractors, I had a guy come to my house and do some sprinkler repair, and he was fantastic, right? And it's spring. I mean, people are 4 weeks out for sprinkler repair here in Colorado in the spring. And he made, you know, he came at 6 o'clock at night. I know he was busy, right? And so I left him just a fantastic review online, and that's really valuable. And now he's in my phone book as someone I'd love to refer to anyone who's needing that type of service, right? And so at some point I'll ask him to do the same. And now he's my guy. He's going to come winterize and do all these things. And so building those relationships, but reviews are, you know, they're interesting. Always take them with a grain of salt. You know, when I was looking at brokerages to sign up with Keller Williams, you could see the ones that it's like, oh, you worked there for 3 months and you're mad because you didn't have any transactions. Well, I can clearly see that's on you, right? And so you can take it that way. But it's also interesting to see like Zillow's official response to people, and even their responses are just like cut and paste and not really valuable. It's like a bot talking to them, and it's like, oh, do you want to deal with that and call customer service and get a different person each time? And then these other horror stories of people can't, you know, stop getting their credit card charged. And so that's something you can approach with the Redfin, you know, why this value is here. Or just go take a look at the Better Business Bureau and tell me what you know, that's a reliable review place. I feel like kind of better than, you can tell Zillow pays for good reviews on some things or only lets good reviews come on some things. And they're such a monster that, you know, you got to scroll down a little bit before you get to Better Business Bureau. But it's just interesting to see where agents have failed their clients. And it could be the tiniest, I mean, people are picky, but the biggest thing I've learned from reading those reviews is communication. Like, just call people back, be in touch, be available. And so I think that's highly valuable from what I've heard and read.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
My 2 cents.
that's good.
They're like the evil empire, aren't they?
And so as far as distinguishing yourself, creating that stellar experience, how will they remember you by, and how do you go above and beyond? We're on the recaps and ahas. Any more questions or good takeaways from today?
Anybody here in person?
Good stuff.
I'd say one thing actually that we didn't is standards. Figure out what your standards are for you as a person, standards in life, and also for your business. Make sure you're living up to your own standards.
And
That was a
communicate.
huge thing, yeah.
Don't be afraid to communicate those, that what you expect out of yourself, what you expect out of people, honesty, integrity, don't be afraid to express it, that's how you live your life.
Yeah.
How you operate.
Yep.
I do appreciate you guys sharing like all your experiences and like what you learned from them, because that was so helpful. Like, you know, even as they were just coming to your mind, like, you know, that definitely helped.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I honestly, when I got into real estate, that was the best way I learned was you pass the test, you have the
Yeah.
knowledge as far as everything real estate related there. But then once you get the experience and you learn from other people, that's where you're gonna learn the most too, is when you're out there.
If we had to go take the test right now,
Probably.
no shot.
Yeah.
Not a chance.
Scary.
Maybe 1 out of 10. There's no way.
Yeah.
I had an agent who was sort of cheering me through the test, and when I finally passed, she said, great, now forget everything you
Yeah.
learned and go learn everything that you need to know to actually
Absolutely.
be an agent. And I'm like, that's
Absolutely.
not
I
funny.
like to think of it as a license to learn, right?
Yeah.
It's
It's
allowed-
so true.
I'm allowed to learn how this really works, right? And so so I don't know if you guys attend or go to the masterminds thing, but I love the stories, right? I find a lot of value in other agents' struggles and triumphs over situations that they've, you know, displayed incredible problem solving. And it's like, oh my, as a new agent, it's like, didn't even know that was a thing. Oh my gosh, like, okay, this is something that will be in the back of my mind when this comes up. And so the stories that you guys have shared today is just like,
Always learning.
Yeah.
Always learn.
Yeah, because most of my notes are from just now are like all the stories you were sharing, like, oh, do this and make sure you pay attention to that. So
Yep.
very helpful. Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Carpet and paint.
Paint is huge.
Yes.
Tile is expensive.
Certain things, curb
Yeah.
appeal, you
If
know,
you
little
ever-
things.
If
plant
you ever
flowers.
need contractors, don't hesitate to reach out. Just treat them well, otherwise I won't give you any more.
Yeah.
I have one agent that needed a contractor, so I gave it to him. My contractor was like, what's this guy's deal? And who does he think he is? And I was like, okay, don't ask me for any more of my contractors.
Yeah.
So if you get a good referral, make sure you're nice to them too,
Yeah.
right? That would keep
Sure.
it going.
Just be nice.
Just be nice.
Nice, right?
It's not hard.
It's so much harder to be mean, you know?
It is, it takes way more.
Yeah. So much energy.
One more thing just to add, I know you probably hear it a lot, but it's just having the right mindset too. Yes, it's huge. I was gonna say, as far as educating yourself, I know you guys are going through all the classes, but listen to podcasts too. As
Yeah.
far as, I know lately I've listened to a few good ones, as far as having the right mindset makes a difference. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
think about this, do I get to sell a real estate? Do I have to, or do I want to? What
Yeah.
kind of mindset are you in?
Depends on the day.
Depends on the day. Yes.
How much copy?
Because otherwise you could get burned out too. So,
Yeah.
you know, you have to make sure that focus, what are your strengths and weaknesses, and then how do you build from them? And that you enjoy it.
Don't hesitate to reach out to Katie and I with anything.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
nice seeing all of you.
Thanks, Kate. Thank you.
Unless Leo's on the trampoline.
Oh, Leo. Can he even make a
Thank
dent in
you.
it, or is it a little
Oh, he's
Thanks.
getting good at it. It's the neighbor's trampoline. It's even better. We don't even have to have
That's
one.
awesome.
He just goes to the neighbor gate and he jumps right
I
up.
just got Amy's kids, those, I call them skip-its, where you put it on your ankle.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Oh, I remember that.
Well,
one.
the 3-year-old is just like.
Those were
whacking
fun.
with that. I'm like, I didn't know.
I didn't know they still made skip-its.
They do.
These light up.
Oh.